Okay, why don't we go ahead and get started with today's webinar. Welcome to everyone. We're so glad that you can make it with us today for the ServiceMax FSM 18.3 launch. My name is Roger with ServiceMax, and today I'm joined by Gaurav Verma, Senior Product Marketing Manager with ServiceMax, also Mehul Jain, Senior Product Manager, and also Michael Lin, Senior Product Manager. Before we go ahead and get started, I'd just like to run through a few housekeeping items with you. In front of you, you should be seeing a few different modules. The main one in the center is where the slides will be displayed. Over in the upper right-hand corner, there's a small resource list there. We have a PDF of the 18.3 release notes. We also have a link to the press release as well. Below that is a small media player. When Mehul and Michael go to do their demo, that will be showing through there, and that will automatically resize to be larger when they do their demo. Finally, below that, there's a Q&A box in the lower right-hand corner. If you do have a question during the webinar, please feel free to enter those in there, and we'll be doing Q&A at the end. And once again, this webcast will be streamed through your computer, so please make sure that your speakers are turned on and that the volume is turned up so that you can hear clearly. So with that, why don't we go ahead and get started, and I'll hand things off to you, Gaurav.
Yeah, thank you, Gaurav. Thank you, Roger. Very excited to be here. We're looking forward to this very eagerly. So let me just give you a quick sense of the agenda. So I'll kind of go over the timeline for the launches and then outline the key innovations that we are bringing out in this release. And then Mehul and Mike will demo their respective portions. And after that, we can do Q&A. All right. So 18.3 is really a labor of love for us. You know, it's kind of a special release in the sense that we are preparing for the next generation of ServiceMax, which will be actually GA 19.1, the next release. Right now, the majority of features that are very innovative in 18.3 are actually in beta, but we do have some GA features as well. So the reason we are actually taking a phased approach in delivering these innovative features is because, frankly speaking, you know, delivering breakthrough innovation takes time, and we want our customers to get the best possible experience with a mature feature set. So just to be clear, we have GA features in this release, but most of the innovative features are in beta right now, which will define the next generation of ServiceMax. So what are the key problems that the next generation of ServiceMax is actually going to solve? So in this release, we are challenging the status quo. We're not only fundamentally changing the perception of what the technicians and dispatcher roles should be, but also challenging the notion of kind of work that service organizations can do and should do. So let's talk about technicians. So far, both in-house and third-party technicians have been always guided in a very prescriptive manner from the back office. But if you think deeply, their role has actually changed quite a bit in the industry, right? So today's technicians don't show up with a wrench and a screwdriver, but they are much more tech-savvy. They have a lot more skills, and they actually know a lot more about the customer service history. So today, these technicians represent the brand in front of the customer, and they need to make autonomous decisions to be more customer-centric. Now, at the same time, the role of the third-party technicians is also becoming very important because Gartner predicts that by 2020, 40% of field service work is going to be done by third-party technicians. And at the same time, the mobile market has evolved so fast and continues to do so. These technicians have a powerful, larger screen mobile phone that they're kind of emotionally tied to, right? So what they need is an app with consumer-style experience that will make them much more autonomous by letting them plan their work, execute it efficiently, and also communicate it with the back office. Now, traditionally, scheduling is also seen as a very operational role. And many a times, a scheduler is just trying to get hold of technicians, you know, answering maybe some customer calls, you know, putting out fires and juggling between different priorities, right? But if you think about it, you know, he's making a lot of decisions and really needs an intelligent tool which will empower him to make strategic business decisions in an efficient and confident manner, you know, rather than just being an operational person. So we think that the dispatcher needs to be elevated to an empowered decision maker level. And I'd also like you to think about how service organizations are evolving. So the field service landscape is getting very competitive, and to gain higher market share, service organizations need to differentiate, right? So they need flexibility to cater to more complex work such as installations, upgrades that are kind of driven by regulatory requirements as well. And to deliver this kind of work, they need a new set of capabilities. So we recognized all these market trends, and we're delivering several breakthrough features, which are now outlined. So to make technicians autonomous, what we're doing is we're delivering a fourth-generation mobile application, which is a consumer-style app. It's very feature-rich and native as well, and it has intuitive user experience. So in our previous releases, we've delivered self-dispatch capabilities for speeding up work allocation on our mobile apps. We've also delivered a self-service feature called field inventory management, which is actually a way for technicians to visually locate service parts within a certain radius and even put in a parts transfer transaction. And in this FSM 18.3 release, we're going further and delivering features that allow technicians to plan their work, execute it, and also communicate with the back office. And we have an extensive set of supporting features for each of these pillars. So let me take you through them. So we started with bringing out several targeted screens to increase the work engagement for technicians. We already had a regular calendar view. Now the technician can see an agenda view as well, which is like a compressed view of all work assignments organized by day. In addition, there's a map view, which lets you visualize job location more intuitively and interact with the map in a much richer fashion as well. And if they just rather see the engagements for the day, they can use the one-day view as well. So you can see that through these screens, the technician has more choices to plan the day. Okay, so once they are at a job, new work orders can come in anytime or they can change anytime. It's very important to keep the technicians in the know to keep up their engagement level. The new mobile app makes this possible by sending push notifications to technicians for new work order assignments. And these notifications are smart because the technician can either accept or reject the work order from there itself. So this really enhances the technician utilization and optimizes the response time. And our new phone app also lets technicians deal with situations where there is a crew involved. So what's a crew? Think of crew as a group of resources. There could be technicians or equipment that just need to be together for completing a job. So the phone app has targeted screens that allow crew members to see the composition of the crew and also contact each other right now. And in the future, we might look to enhance the range of contextual actions that you can take here. So once a technician arrives at a job, he needs rich functionality to make autonomous decisions. So that's why we are providing a variety of work order related functions such as entering parts and labor details, doing work order debrief, creating service codes, and much more. And in all these screens, the beauty is that the technician's input is validated in real time, which adds to the responsive experience of the app. Another way of making autonomous decisions is through modern forms and checklists, which can be leveraged really well to capture best practices and compliance data in the field. There's a lot of distilled wisdom that you can actually bake into these forms. So the new phone app not only provides enhanced capabilities for gathering the service data, but you can also see the screen from the screenshots on the slide here. You can see that it also shows the completion status of the underlying sections in an intuitive manner. And once the forms are filled up by the technician, they can choose to include it in the service reports as well, which makes the service experience more transparent. A big part of being autonomous is also to have all the supporting information about the job at your fingertips, right? So the new phone app actually helps technicians to manage rich content for a much richer view of the service history, especially when there might be multiple technicians working on a job. So you can upload all kinds of documents, photos, and videos to the work order. And once that happens, the technician doesn't have to call into the back office to get relevant documents. It's right there in the mobile app for him. So far, we've seen how the technicians can do the work, but the mobile app needs to ensure that all the work on the app is also synced up with the backend system, right? So in the new app, the sync experience is pretty seamless because the data to be synced up is limited to the current screen only, so that can happen. As opposed to the full aggressive sync that used to take up to like 4x the time. Also, what we've done and what we're very excited about is the introduction of enhanced architecture behind the scenes that offers better reliability and better performance for the end user. And we have done this by introducing a caching layer between the mobile app and the server. Now, this truly differentiates us from the rest of the competition in field service. As you know, as far as we know, no one else is really doing this in the market right now. So now what I'm going to do is request Mike to demo a new phone app and bring it to life.
Sure. Hey guys. I just wanted to give you guys a quick sneak preview of the new ServiceMax phone app that we have coming out. It's beta for 18.3, and it'll be released early next year for the general availability. Let's see here. There are a few things I want to point out. I want to point out that there's some similarities to the previous apps that we had, and there's some differences. So the similarities is that we have all the features of ServiceMax right here in the new phone app, and in fact, it even works on the same exact configuration that you have. So you don't have to do any new configuration in order to start using it. You could just log in and it'll work. The difference is really in performance and usability. That's where we've really focused our efforts here. And what I want to point out here is that the UI is just easier to scan. All right, we have other improvements, like there's better use of space. An example of that is right now you're looking at the calendar in a day view, and you can see that it's kind of scaled to every hour. You can see it. You can scroll through your day like that. But we also have a new type of view called the agenda view, which actually shows everything in a more compact version, which is much more suited to mobile. That's where everything is just listed in order. Right, we have better placement of tools. An example of that is a sync tool. In the past, you've had to go to a whole different view. You'd had to go to your tools section and a different tab in order to run your sync. Here we have it right at the top. You can start syncing from any screen, and it leaves you on that screen. Now, sync can take a lot of time because it's doing a full comparison of everything that changed on the server side as well as everything that changed on the client side. But you can actually run it in the background and keep working while that runs. So that's really nice. All right, so while the sync is going, we can still move around the screens. We can search for new records here. We have just general faster navigation and interaction in general. And the reason for that is because we have a fully native app, at least that's part of the reason. But we also have other optimizations on top of that. So with a full native app, you get that really snappiness that you're really used to on a consumer grade app. For instance, we can search as we type here. Look for a little vibrating arc reactor. And we had sync optimizations that if you've been counting, you could see that the synchronization took probably about 30 to 60 seconds to happen because it's doing a lot of work on the server side. But we're actually making sync optimizations that'll make that faster than ever before. It's going to make it faster than all previous FSA apps. And the way that we're doing that is we're leveraging what Garv referred to, which is our sync gateway. It's our middleware. We're actually leveraging it to do parallel processing of the sync information, so that those sync times go way down because of that. But in addition to that, we're also shipping this with our newest Smart Sync, which is our fast targeted sync, which synchronizes things just on this one page. Let me give an example of that. I'm changing some information here. Maybe I'll change the currency, and I'll hit save. And you can see that the sync icon is spinning. Well, if you didn't blink, you'd see it. It took about 2 to 3 seconds for that to all be pushed to the server and us to get a response. So this is the new way of syncing that we're recommending, which is that if you have if you have a need to push information immediately to the server, you can do so way quicker than you used to be able to before. And the way that we do that is we're syncing in a very, very focused way what's on the screen right here. So in summary, the new phone app is going to give you all the power of ServiceMax, everything that you're used to in the former apps. It's going to work with your current configuration, and it's going to be faster and easier than ever before. All right. Back to you, Gaurav.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot, Mike. That was awesome. So what I'm going to do now is move over to the dispatcher empowerment section. And just a minute while I actually advance the slides. So, yeah, I think Roger wants to tell something about the demo.
No, I think we're okay. Yeah.
All right. All right, cool. So, as I mentioned, we are really redefining the dispatcher role with ServiceMax 18.3 by delivering a completely reimagined user experience. And we're calling it Service Board, which is the new generation of the dispatch console. So why is this important? From a strategy standpoint, there was kind of a big aha moment for us that kind of led to this, we heard that the customers wanted to automate their work, but kind of kept realizing that not many customers are really going for the complete automation part. So it's kind of like this bell curve where the majority is somewhere in between the homegrown tool/Excel solutions and full automation. And so to empower the majority of dispatchers in the middle, we rethought our philosophy and came up with this notion of assisted dispatch and scheduling. So the service board gives dispatchers complete visibility into all areas of their work, lets them focus on relevant aspects, and then empowers them to make a business decision with confidence. So let me take you through a deeper dive on the supporting feature set for each of the benefit pillars. So this is the new look and feel of the service board. It's really graphical and very modern. And in this view, right now we're in the scheduler tab, which has a very intuitive Gantt view of the work orders against technicians. Another beauty of this user experience is that the dispatchers can choose a work order in the list view on the left-hand side and quickly locate it in the Gantt view on the right through a menu option. So this helps dispatchers visually understand the relation between work orders and technicians. Now, dispatchers receive immediate notifications when a new job comes in. They also have the flexibility of setting criteria for the jobs that they actually want to be notified of. With this feature, the dispatcher can make sure that the new jobs get all the due attention for scheduling and nothing really slips through the cracks. So you know that one of the top customer complaints is that technicians don't show up on time when the customer is actually waiting for them. Service Board alleviates this pain by making automated drive time calculations when a new order is actually assigned to a technician. So this calculation is more accurate compared to before because it leverages Google Maps APIs behind the scenes and it really takes into account the historical traffic patterns between the two locations. Service Board also introduces real-time location tracking by technician, which is a really cool feature. As you can see here, once you select a technician, the dispatcher can actually make an on-demand query to find out the latest location of the technician in the field. And this works pretty closely with the new phone app that Mike just showed us in the demo. And the dispatcher can then see the last reported location against the technician, for the technician with the timestamp as well. So this is a great tool in the hands of a dispatcher when he has to make a scheduling decision in real time at that moment, Another interesting map feature is that technicians can now view completed or pending routes. It also really helps that they're highlighted in different colors because the whole experience is really visual. Once again, this helps dispatchers in making scheduling decisions because they can have a really good sense of which jobs are remaining for the rest of the day and what's been done so far. So not only can you see the pending versus completed routes, but you can also choose to shows specific layers on top of the map. And these layers could be technician, it could be a job, or equipment. And this is really exciting because it's a very interactive and visual way of making scheduling decisions, different from before. All right, so we are very excited about this new search feature in Service Board. It really raises the user experience bar to a new level. So now with the contextual search, dispatchers can search for a job or resource by typing in a keyword, and that keyword might be matching a city, a skill, or even a product name. And as you type in that keyword, you'll also see several autocomplete suggestions pop up in the search bar. It's very much like Google search. So the beauty is that the results are ranked by relevance. And so this is one feature that dispatchers would use a lot because they can do the job so much better. So if you take a step back, there could be thousands of jobs in the system and hundreds of technicians in the field. But as a dispatcher, you might not be working with all of them. You might want to just access a slice of them, right? And so to make this possible, the Service Board lets you create personalized views of resources and jobs, and you can further search on them. So the beauty of this is that dispatchers can just cut to the chase and focus on the right jobs or resources to get things done. All right, intelligent resource recommendations. I think this is going to be another really popular feature for enhancing dispatcher productivity. So as a dispatcher, your goal in life is to find the right person for the job that you're working on. But what if you could actually ask the system to do that for you? Now, Service Board delivers intelligent resource recommendations based on various dimensions such as skills, expertise, and certifications if you ask it to do so. And you can even configure the weights of these dimensions and be in control of the recommendation process, actually. And as you can see, the results are stacked ranked by team, which makes it really very helpful to make decisions. So the events feature is something that a lot of customers actually ask for, and we are really glad that it's in the 18 in the beta program. So essentially what it does is lets dispatchers block off time on the technician's calendar on a one-time or a recurring basis. So some use cases for this can be for defining team meetings or personal unavailability windows. And so when dispatchers can track the technician's time more accurately, guess what's going to happen? They can schedule jobs with more confidence and know that the technician is going to be available. So ranked appointment bookings is another really exciting feature in this release, which is actually GA. So many times the customers call in to reschedule the appointment because something changed on their end. But the time slot that maybe would work for the customer may not be optimal for the service organization in terms of the cost incurred. So wouldn't it be great if the dispatchers could stack rank the time slots by cost and use this knowledge to negotiate a mutually beneficial time slot? And in effect, negotiating a win-win. Now that's exactly what the ranked appointment booking feature does. It uses the schedule optimization engine behind the scenes for coming up with this ranking. Great. So now I'm going to request Mehul to bring Service Board to life, the demo.
Okay, thank you, Gaurav. Let me go ahead and do my screen share here. All right, folks, my name is Mehul Jain. I'm the product manager for the new dispatch console. We're calling it Service Board moving forward, just so you know. What I'm going to do today is just give you a quick overview of what exists in Service Board today. Just to reiterate what Gaurav said, this is all in beta right now. None of this is going to be GA in 18.3. It will be GA in 19.1. So to start off with, you can see that compared to what we've done in the past, seems like you can't see my screen any longer. Hold on just a second. Let me stop share and reshare.
Yeah, let's just try it. Restarting it.
Let's do my entire screen. Okay. Sorry, folks, just give us a second here.
Yep. Okay. Yeah.
So wanted to give you just a quick overview of the new dispatch console. So at the very top, you'll see that now we have 3 different tabs: Scheduler, Map, and Crew Manager. On the Scheduler tab, on the left side is where you basically have all your demands. So this is all of your work orders that are coming through. On this side, we've emphasized a much larger Gantt view than we had in the past because we think dispatchers want to see more of what's happening in the field at any given time. The map view is on a separate tab. We will eventually make this a separate pop-out, but for now it's on a separate tab, and I'll go into the details on this a little bit later. And then the Crew Manager is a brand new functionality that we'll talk about in just a few minutes as well, once Gaurav speaks to complex jobs. So on here, what I wanted to run through was a quick scenario for all of you. One was just being able to see the different types of views that you can have. So here I have a bunch of views that have been defined by a particular admin in this case. And as an individual dispatcher, what I can do is then go ahead and create a specific view on certain things that I want. So let's say if I want to look for an account that contains substation, go ahead and do that, and you may have noticed it dynamically refreshes this particular list. And then I can call it my substation view, essentially. I'll just call it recent jobs by account substation, and I would do save as on here. So this allows for admin types to decrease their workload, but then also allows dispatchers to organize and prioritize the way they deem best. On the search side here, we're going to look for a particular job. So this is one of the things Gaurav was mentioning. What we've included in here is essentially Elasticsearch. This is a particular job that I was looking for. I knew it ended in 10844, something I was working on yesterday. So I'm going to go and look for it. It gives me this quick suggestion right here. So this is a San Jose substation. There's a repair that needs to be done out there. All of these fields that you see in these collapsed and expanded cards are going to be configurable. You can decide to put in as many fields as you want or as few as you want, and you can sequence them in the order that you deem fit. The other thing we've introduced on here is the ability to do lifecycle statuses for jobs as well as for appointments. This is a much deeper topic, so I won't spend too much time on that, but it does allow you to basically automatically any changes that you've made to your appointment, it can reflect in your job status over here. This would then tie into your overall work order status. Now, on here, one of the things I can also do is a resource recommendation. So in this case, for San Jose substation, I'm looking for a particular resource, or the best fit, basically, for this job. I'll do resource recommendation. And here I have Scott Techman. That pops up as my top hit. I can always go in here and edit that criteria further. Maybe I think that the weight of the skills should be higher. So I can increase this particular weight over here and say find matching resources. You can see adjusted a little bit. In this case, it pretty much kept it the same, but the scores changed a bit. And then as a dispatcher, you can make more of that final decision on who is the best resource. So I'll go ahead and drag and drop it over to Scott sometime in the afternoon over here. You will notice while that's dropping it on there, I have different colors on here. Right now, they're just set to the status of a particular job. So this one is finished, this one has probably been accepted, this one is pending. And then you may notice that there's a little bit of a additional opaque area that we've added there that indicates travel time. So in this case, the travel time we expect it to be 38 minutes. Note that the way we're calculating this is we're sending the expected start time of the job out to Google, and we're getting a particular travel time for them. And it does take into account historical averages. So if I do move this to, let's say, 4 p.m., that may change it a little bit. Let's see if it did. Yeah, so it's probably more traffic hour at that time, so it will change that. So let me go ahead and put it back at the original spot. The next thing I want to do is do multi-assign on here. So let me just go ahead and reset this list so we can see all of our technicians. And this was that particular job. I want somebody else on this job in addition to Scott. So let me see who else I can find. So in this case, let me go and do manage multiple resources. This is something that we have today if you're familiar with the multi-assign mode, but we've taken a different, much more visual spin on it moving forward, and we think this will also help when we start thinking about dependencies and tying in, aligning appointments, grouping and locking appointments together. We think a visual method to see this is going to be much easier, and we think this also allows people to search for additional resources easily. So in this case, let's say I want to find somebody else in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I know that zip code starts with a 9-4, and I'm also looking for somebody with a diagnostic skill set. So I'll say diagnostic, and I'll do 9-4 because I know the zip codes in the Bay Area start with a 9-4 for the most part. And I see that I got Stacy, and of course Scott was there already. He already has a diagnostic type. And here you can see why Stacy was picked. Well, she's 94852, that's great, and she has a skill set of diagnostic. So I'm going to go ahead and add Stacy to this particular job. I can always tell her to come a little bit later because it seems like she has another job over there. So maybe I'll go and adjust this on this side. And maybe I just need to move this up for her a little bit more so I can adjust. I'll probably need to do that down there. But you can go and adjust it as you deem fit. Go ahead and save this, and then it will show for both of those folks on there. So Scott was already on there, and now it also shows for Stacy. So in this manner, I can go and add other resources as I deem appropriate. Let me go ahead and get out of this, and this is where we're at. So we're back to this particular screen. One other thing I want to point out on here is maps before I hand it back to Gaurav. So this was that same job that we were looking at. So that's why the filters popped up directly on here. Let me go and take it a step back, though. Let me go ahead and clear this filter. I want to see just all of my jobs. Now, on maps here, you'll notice a couple of things. So one, we have jobs and we have resources. This is much different than what you see in the maps today in that there's also account locations and work orders. It's just consumed in a different way, we feel. We think what's most important for dispatchers at the end of the day is to know their supply and their demand. Their demand are the jobs, their supplies are their people, and their resources. It might be equipment, it might be crews, whatever it is. So that's the way we thought about this as well, jobs and resources. On here, on the left side of the page, and then we also have the resources on this side, and you can turn on and off particular teams if that's what you would like to do. On the bottom right, you'll notice we have a couple of layers. So we have the jobs pin over here, and we have resources on this side that I can enable and disable as I wish. If I zoom in real quick, what it's showing me right now, you'll notice that we have pagination, and right now it's at 446. What it does is show me whatever I have on that first page. And this is something we'll probably tweak in the future, and this will be based on certain beta feedback that we get as well. But right now it's pulling in the 25 items that were on the first page. Why don't you see all 25? Well, probably because some of the other locations on here don't have geocodes associated with them. So of those 14 jobs that you see here, there's one here and one in Japan apparently. This is a new concept that we've also introduced, group markers, very similar to what you might see once again on some of these like real estate website types. And you can start digging in. So if I want to see these 14, well, okay, I have also 11 jobs in this particular area, one job over here, and then I can just start going into more details. And in this case, it's going to spider out and give me more details about this particular San Jose substation jobs. All of these fields on here, once again, will be fully configurable. This is just a form. They'll be fully configurable by admins. The last thing I wanted to show on here from a resource standpoint was the ability to do routes. So let's go back to Scott Techman. And let me go ahead and turn off the jobs pin for a second. A couple of things on here. One, Gaurav mentioned this, that we're going to allow for on-demand location updates. That is something you guys might be familiar with today where you're able to get the location of the technician. The way we're pursuing it in the future is going to be much faster. We're going to directly work with the technician's device using PubNub, and it's not going to be dependent on sync in any way. So we think it'll be much faster in the trials that we've done. Minor thing, but I think important, just so you get the value out of this, is that we've added in time here. A lot of times, even if you get the current location in today's dispatch console, you don't know when that last ping was. So that kind of takes all the value out of it, in my opinion. So we've made sure we added when was that last actual ping. So in this case, this was on October 3rd. If I would hit update, I don't have this tied to a mobile device right now, but it would find the latest lat and long and update that on here, and then you would see that on the map as well. So this is very similar to what you might do when you're doing a Google Maps share location with a family friend or a family or a friend member. Last thing on here, Scott Techman, I wanted to show you his routes, was you go in here, and you notice that the time dimension turned on at this time, right? The date dimension, essentially, when I turn on routes. So in this particular case, we have that one job that's assigned to him, and he's going to this particular location. If I go to the next day, I'm not sure if I have a particular route. Yeah, so he has a different route on that day. You can click on the route. You can see more details about what he's going to be working on. And you can highlight any of these segments to see what the travel time is going to be in case you're interested in seeing that level of detail. I will stop there and hand it back to Gaurav.
How do I unshare my screen? I hit it by chance. Great. So it didn't work. So let's go to the live view. All right. So can you do that for me, please? So let's talk about how we are enabling service organizations to do complex work. So just as one size doesn't fit all, there's a different kind of work, you know. On the low end of the spectrum, we can imagine a single technician doing a simple repair job many times over, and then you can go up the food chain in which a couple of technicians could do 3 or 4 jobs a day, and each job could take a couple days. With the FSM 18.3 release, we are enabling service organizations to address more complex work like installations, upgrades, decommissions, where there's a lot of dependency and multiple skills involved. So the dimensions of the number of technicians, duration, and the work order is magnified many times over. So the need for complex work is also driven by regulatory requirements in many industries. So to address these market needs, we are delivering functionality that will allow service organizations to schedule work for multiple days with multiple resources and across multiple shifts. And all this functionality is ingrained in Service Board itself. So in some situations, only a single technician might be qualified to do a job. And the job might take multiple days and maybe even locations. That's what we call a long job. So the way this long job gets addressed is by setting up multiple appointments with the same customer for the same job. So as a reminder, in DC1, you can also use something called overnight stays, in which the technician doesn't have to go back to the home location. So some jobs are so complex that you need multiple technicians with varying skills to complete to work on it. And Mehul actually already demonstrated this to you. So this is what we're calling the multi-resource job feature. One thing to note here is that the job duration can be anything, you know. And so, as you mentioned, this is a new visual experience in the service board. And when you extend the use case to multiple jobs, that's when you can really leverage crew management. So we're very excited about this feature, and Mehul will demo this in just a minute. So here you can logically assemble a set of multiple resources as a crew, and these resources could be technicians or equipment or maybe even spaces in the future. So you can have a crew leader for overseeing the work, and as needed, he can add or remove resources, and of course, even potentially assign multiple jobs to the crew as well. So the one thing to note here is the duration of the job to be serviced by the crew should be a day at a minimum. And when you grow as a service organization, you know, you'll have a larger workforce, and you'll probably even provide extended service hours to your customer base, which is increasing, right? That's when you need shift management, or you can really leverage it to the fullest potential, in other words. With shifts, what you can do is define standards or complex patterns for every day and pretty much for the week, and override them with public or personal holidays. Then you can assign this template to technicians to create a proper roster for your service. So we even have a rich library of pre-built shift plans so that you can jumpstart your experience right away. All right, so this is a quick summary of ServiceMax next generation features. Overall, the new generation of ServiceMax will provide a new consumer-style native app for making technicians more autonomous, a completely new work environment that will empower dispatchers to make intelligent decisions with confidence, and flexibility for service organizations to handle complex jobs that need scheduling for multiple days, resources, and shifts. And as I mentioned earlier, we do have some GA features as well. So we already talked about the ranked appointment booking, which is a very strong feature and useful for service organizations. We are also announcing support for Salesforce files for smart documents and checklists in our web application so far. In addition, the partner and customer communities will be actually getting Lightning UI support, which is also very exciting. And this will be done through Napoli templates. Lastly, we made miscellaneous improvements to the migration tool as well that you can take advantage of. You can find more details in the release notes that we've actually linked up in the webinar now. So what I'm going to request Mehul to do is also quickly show us the crew management feature, which I feel is probably the most important and exciting feature in this.
Okay, thanks, Gaurav. Let me go and share my screen again. Give me just a second. So I wanted to go back to this screen and just continue the story from here. There's one thing I wanted to just quickly point out was around shifts that Gaurav mentioned. The white space in here is available hours. This is unavailable hours, the gray. So in a couple of seconds, you'll see me change the view, so where you will be actually able to see differing types of shift patterns. So what I've done in here, one of the things you can do is go into a particular resource list, and you can see that in this case I have Oakland Yard, Salinas Yard checked, and maybe now I'm taking more of that crew dimension. And that's our belief is in general that most organizations, they will either work primarily in the crew mode or they'll work in the individual mode. Of course, if you want to do both and be able to see crews and technicians and equipment, you should be able to do that as well. But here I have the crew mode here. Let me just make one edit. Sorry about that. If I add in Dublin Yard, you can see here I have a different shift pattern perhaps for this particular substation crew, and these other crews are following their own shift patterns. So what I wanted to do was go into Crew Manager real quick and give you an overview of this. So same sort of look and feel as a scheduler page, but it's a different outcome. So on here, on the left side, you have all of your resources. These are all your people that are available to be on crews. And these are your individual crews. And then this is where you say, I want a particular person to be in this crew during this defined period of time. Now, this is something that is going to be used by a resource manager, a crew manager type primarily. We don't expect that the average dispatcher is going to come in here and constantly toggle this. We could be wrong on that, but the idea in general is that this is a different sort of responsibility in the company, and these are the people who are creating the crews based off of the skill sets that they deem are necessary for that crew. A crew has to be together for the duration of at least 1 day in the way we've defined it. So in this case, what I'm going to do is search for, I want to populate the Salinas maintenance and construction crew that I have. and I want to search for a particular type of skill set. So one is I'm looking for Edge D, and I know Arthur is in there. He also works in the Salinas yard. Great. I'm going to go ahead and put him on the crew for Thursday, 10/11. There's a little icon next to him that indicates that he is the crew leader for that particular crew. I want him to be the crew leader for an extended period of time, let's say the next 20 days or so. I'll go ahead and save that on here. And then I will go ahead and add another type of resource who needs to be qualified in, let's say, Plex 123. It's Emma. She's also in the Salinas yard. I will go ahead and drop her on for the next. This is where I think the crew management becomes more effective than other crew managers that we've seen. You can change the duration that you want these people to be on there. They don't have to be exactly the same time. So I start off at 10/11, and maybe I'll have her work through the weekend, and she's on that crew for that particular time slot over there. The next one, I want to add one more person who was previously just looking for a general person who I know works well with them, Stephen Jones, and I'll go and drop him over here. And in fact, I want Stephen to show up on Friday, 10/12 on there. So you can see I can alter and play around with who I want on a particular group or a crew at any given time. If I go back to my scheduler page, I can then take any particular job from here. Let's just take this Salinas substation one as an example. I'm just going to minimize this so you guys can focus easily. And let me go ahead and drop it to Salinas crew here starting in the morning. So it went ahead and created this. Now, at the same time, what it did in the background was it created appointments for all these other people that were on there. So let me go ahead and just show you what that would look like. Once again, I don't expect most people to work in this manner, but this is for a demo purpose. If I show the other individuals that I had selected for that particular crew, sorry, let me go ahead and just minimize this. This was the job that I assigned to the crew. When I did that, it assigned those same exact appointments to these other people on here. Of course, if I wanted to move it around over here, it would move it around in the crew over here as well. So that's the general functionality on crew for this that speaks to the whole complex work cycle. I already demoed the multi-assign mode. Back to you, Gaurav.
If that's it, back to Roger. Now we can take Q&A.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mehul. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Gaurav.
Thank you.
Again, if you have any questions, we do have quite a few. Michael, thanks for answering some of those that already came in.
No problem.
So we do have a few that we still need to get to. Let's see. In the map view, they said they can view multiple layers now. Can you also see where the tech is within the building, i.e. the floor level they are at? This is a problem today in hospitals with multiple floors.
Yeah. Hey, Scott. So no, you cannot do that yet. I would love to hear more use cases around that, exactly how you use that. So feel free to reach out to me directly. My email is just firstname.lastname@ge.com. But it's something we've heard about, but I just haven't heard any strong use cases behind it. So I would love to hear more. But at this time, no, it is not going to be supported.
Okay, next question about service board. To get the service board, do we need to have Lightning turned on in Salesforce, or will the tool work in Classic?
It will work in Classic. It is independent of Lightning.
Okay. Will the auto scheduling feature take drive time into account?
I'm not clear on what you mean, Michael, by the auto scheduling feature. If you're referring to the resource recommendation piece, that does not take it into account yet. If you're referring to something closer to what is around auto dispatch or optimization, we haven't rolled that out yet with this with the new service board. We'll be looking at that in the 19.2 release.
Looks like Michael has another question. That also, will the weighted resource recommendation accommodate custom fields in case we have our own rating system like CSAT?
Yeah, that's actually a really good idea. I hadn't thought of that before, Michael, but we can certainly look at that. Actually, I could see that being useful to a lot of folks that may have their own custom fields that they want to account for. So good feedback, and we'll definitely run with that.
Okay, this is another one about traffic. Does the map view have a layer for traffic travel concerns?
Yeah, so it will. It just doesn't on this first 19.1 release, but we will get that in by 19.2. That's definitely a high priority item to add in traffic as well as satellite view.
Next question. Will this version of DC be visible on iPads?
So it runs on HTML5, not Flash. So just given that, you can pull it up on the iPad. I want to be clear that it is not designed for the iPad. So there is certain functionality, you could open it, but there's certain things like that I showed you today where you expand and open the cards that will likely not work on the iPad. We did test it on the latest iPad, and we were able to drag and drop it, different jobs on there. You're able to do most things on there. You're able to see different list views. So it will provide you some basic functionality, but once again, it is not geared towards the iPad in this initial release.
Great. Next question. Do any of these features have an impact on a long-term, multi-month, or a year project?
So with regards to some of the long-term, multi-month, or year type of projects, I think what you might be interested in is some of the things we'll be rolling out in 19.1, where we do a lot more with the multi-assign mode, and especially if they end up tying into, that'll be kind of the first step of what we look at projects, and that's something we'll be rolling out sometime probably in 2019. So that's a future-looking item, but I would say for the most part in 19.1, it's you can use it for certain long-term, multi-month things, but it'll probably be more in 19.2 and beyond where we'll add things that are related to projects and longer job scheduling and that sort of stuff. And I would love to, Christopher, get more use cases from you. So if you want to ping us directly on that, please do so.
Okay. This one might be for you, Michael, on mobile. Does the mobile app do more than dispatching and scheduling repair assistance, the tech in the field, for example?
Yeah. There are a few things that the mobile app does that can help with that. One of them is you can pull in any information that you want related to the work order. So that includes like the related case, any history on the installed product that you have. You can pull in service manuals for the installed products if you have that configured, chatter feed, and also the technical attributes, which is like if you have an IoT, like an internet connected device, those things can feed back into servicemax, and you can see the actual data from your IoT events on your device itself. So all those things can help with the repair in the field.
Great, thanks, Mike. Next one, when is this version of servicemax available for customers?
Yeah, it's so 18.3 is already available for download. It was GA on 8th of October. So, but mind you, I mean, what's actually available is the GA aspect, and I did cover that in a slide.
Yeah, so the phone, just to be specific about the phone is available for beta now. It's been available actually for a few months, and some customers are already testing it. It's planned for GA probably the end of Q1, so the end of March is what we're tracking towards right now.
Does the new dispatch functionality replace the need for route optimization?
Tony, I think I'm trying to understand your question there. If you're using or intend to use Optimax in the future, I imagine that's where your question is coming from. I don't think it will replace route optimization, because the intent is for us to show the routes and be able to, then you can adjust it as needed. We're also going to add a nearby jobs feature in the future, which there's actually a design concept on Community that you can look at on that. But we don't expect it to replace route optimization anytime soon. We think it'll work with it.
Another question from Michael. How does the map know where you are when it is calculating travel time to the job?
So, sorry, when you're talking about the travel time calculations, that's simply based off of the job before it. So the way we do it is the very first travel time of the day is when you start your shift. So it's like when you're going from home to a particular job, that's going to be your first segment. And then after that, it is based on the appointment that was before it. And so that's how we calculate the travel times in general.
Next question. We have a couple of minutes left. Can you see multiple text routes in a geographic area by selecting a team only, not by pulling up each tech route individually?
Not yet. I have heard of that as well, but it's not something we prioritize right now. Once again, Dan from Tyco, I would love to understand how you would use that so we can design that better. The last thing we want it to be is just a cluster of routes that are showing in there and it's not usable for you.
Next question, do these functionalities work in offline mode?
For the dispatch console for service board, you have to be online. Mike can speak to anything related to mobile.
Almost all the functionality works when you're offline. We built it so there's actually a local database that you have sort of a copy of all the data that you care about on the mobile device itself, so that when you're offline, you can still continue to use most of the features, except not the sync-related ones, of course. But you could actually make new records, edit existing ones, and you can actually work the work order even while you're offline. The next time you're online, a synchronization will occur that'll sync up everything from your mobile device to the server. So it's very common. A lot of our customers do this.
Okay, great. I think that takes us to about the top of the hour. So thank you to everyone for joining us for today's webinar. Thanks for all the questions, a lot of great ones. Thank you to Gaurav, Mehul, and Michael for just a great presentation, a lot of cool stuff. We will be sending out a link to the recording in a couple of days, so be on the lookout for that in your email inbox there. And thanks again to everyone. I hope you have a great rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you.